everybody. I'm Stacey J.
And I'm Chuck Duran.
Welcome to the 125th episode of VO Buzz Weekly.
That's so cool. Say it again.
Welcome to the 125th episode of VO Buzz Weekly.
Yeah,
Let's just loop
get
it.
down. We are growing, man.
Come a long way,
this
baby.
This is so cool. Okay.
Give me some.
There you go. So, I'm excited, and she's excited too, even though she may not look as excited as I am, but she is. We have on the show today Bill Rogers and Camille Dixon. And you're saying, yeah, but who's that? Okay, well, when you go to Disneyland and you hear, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the street parade is now about to, that voice that you hear all the time
all those
is
announcements
here today. And his wife, Camille Dixon, is the voice of California Adventure. So it's so freaking amazing. These people are so cool. And there's a story here that is going to literally make you cry.
There's so many stories. They're just a beautiful couple. They work together. They play together. They are fantastic. And you don't want to miss 125 or 126. But let's start with 125.
Let's go.
So you guys, there is a lot of magic swirling around in the studio today.
Yeah.
She is the park announcer for Disney's California Adventure. He is the park announcer for Disneyland, Disneyland Tokyo, and many other places. Between the two of them, they have voiced literally thousands of projects for radio, television, internet, corporate, IVR, industrials, it goes on and on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are so excited to get buzzed with the fabulous Camille Dixon and Bill Rogers.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
We are so happy to be here.
Hey.
We've been
are so
fans
lucky
from the
to
beginning.
have you here.
I know.
Oh, hey, this is
It's like,
the fun stuff.
wow, man.
Wait, I have to touch you.
Hello.
Madam, how do you do?
And hello, sir.
Camille.
We always usually
Nice
reach
to
at the
see
same
you
time and
again.
it looks like a bad Twister
Benny.
game.
There you go.
Um,
And we're very civilized over here.
Yes,
yeah.
we try.
So,
no.
Actually, we're very trying, but that's beside the point. You know.
Yes, which you'll soon
we,
find out.
we love that. Okay, so we normally have a guest. Today we
Yes.
have two guests.
Two guests.
They're inseparable.
We
They
kind
go
of are.
everywhere together. No,
They are
it's so
enjoying-
cool because
we're going to try to put you in the guest chair. It is, you know. you
yeah,
guys
we're
are
like,
so
no,
cute
that's
and
going to
fit,
be a
but-
little
we can
crazy.
do that.
She's small enough to do that. I'm not.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
I just thought it was so cute because here they are in these little chairs and stuff like that. But they're like, oh no, we sit like this all the time.
we do.
Me too.
So
Little
works
snuggle
out
bunnies.
just perfect. Now listen, I'm going to jump on in. First
got
of
it.
all, Stacey and I have obviously, been at many parties with you guys and
Yes.
we've always talked and we always have such a great conversation.
Yes.
And every single time that we leave that party, Stacey and I are like, why haven't we had them
Bill
on the
Camille.
show? And then we're like, okay, let's put them on the show and things happen and things get crazy. And this is last time when we saw you, we're like,
Yes.
okay,
totally
that's it.
get that. Yeah.
That's it.
Call them
Yes.
right now. Let's book a date, even if it's a month
Great.
out or whatever. And we did.
And
And
we
we're
did.
so happy to have you on VO Buzz Weekly.
Wow.
You guys, this is a great couple. And you're
Yes.
going to hear some really, really cool stuff. But before
Yes.
we get to that, I want to know, and Stacey wants to know, and everybody wants to know, before you were voicing, park announcing for Disney and California parks, how did you guys get into the actual voiceover business?
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Well, the answer kind of starts for both of us. We both started in radio. I was classical music, public radio, which suits my personality very well.
Yeah.
He was a rock and roll DJ, although when he was 15 years old, he did summer fill-in on KUSC. So he did technically start out 2 years in a row on
Summer
KUSC classical music. So but
Classical.
from there,
Classical
Classical.
91.5.
just
Wow.
downward spiral into the rock and roll DJ thing.
Yeah.
So
Downward spiral.
Yeah,
We
it's
both-
always a downward spiral.
Isn't it, though?
Oh,
Yeah.
the minute your rock and roll gets introduced, then it's
That's
over.
it. It's
That's
over.
right.
Hey,
It's
no
a fun,
class
it's fun on the way
whatsoever.
down, though, isn't it? It is fun.
Oh, there's a lot of fun on the way
definitely.
down.
yes, there is.
So, as you know, we all think that it's a natural leap from there into voiceover because you end up doing commercials and things for your station.
Yeah.
But man, it is a whole different world, and we had to unlearn a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, what was the biggest challenge?
For me, being too formal. And I think that was partly because of my own personality and
Yeah.
partly because of, in a classical music setting, you are more formal. So,
Yeah.
that was something that I had to get past.
Yeah.
And can you get the announcer out of your voice?
That's
Is
when
that a
you-
rhetorical question?
No, it was never a rhetorical question. It was always the question of the day. And in reality, it prevented me from getting an agent for almost 20 years.
Wow.
I mean, I did pretty
Wow.
well without an agent, but, these days things have gotten, they're looking up.
Yeah.
The interesting part of that is when you get into radio announcing, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work when you're just trying to do good old voiceover.
Yeah.
And fortunately, my predecessor at Disneyland, Jack Wagner, was a radio announcer for a long time.
Yeah.
And in the days before there was 93 KHJ, there was KHJ Jazz Radio. And Jack was the evening host of that radio show. And it was amazing. You know, nobody ever said, "Hey, Jack, you got to stop sounding like an announcer."
Yeah.
He managed to take over that part of it, add a little bit of Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey,
Yeah.
a little bit of Old Grandfather, and a bit of authoritarianism, and bingo, there it
It
was.
just worked, yeah.
Jack Wagner,
Yeah.
the man by which all other theme park announcers are judged.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
So hold on. I want to touch a little
Yes.
bit
Yeah.
on this rock and roll DJing thing.
Oh well, that.
I want to talk a little bit more about the
We've hit a chord.
spiral.
Yeah. Oh man.
Can we
How
can we
low
talk
did you
about
go?
can we talk about the spiral?
Yes, we can talk about the spiral. The interesting part of this, I grew up in South Dakota,
Yeah.
about 60 miles down the road from Gary Owens, and about 400 miles from Shadow Stevens. The interesting part of this is that when you're in radio, there is an interest in having that kind of flat Midwestern accent that
Yeah.
seems to go everywhere, but you can't get anywhere in the Midwest or in the Great Plains especially. You got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And in radio, you pay your dues in the East, and the payoff is in the West. Don Steele, for instance, started in Omaha, is rise to fame
Yep.
at Coil. The list is endless. They all started someplace in the quieter parts of the United States,
Yeah.
went east, and all of a sudden they found
Bam.
fame and
Yeah.
fortune and ended up in Los Angeles.
Wow. Did you have to learn how to take out a little bit of announcer out of your voice?
Not a little.
Okay, well then this is really important because
chortled.
there's
I
actually a
think we've
lot
hit
of
it.
guys out there, mainly
yes.
guys, maybe some women, but mostly
Yes.
guys that
Yeah.
that need to do that too. How
Yes.
did you end up doing that? What did you do?
Well, in the first place, I had a really swell coach, a fellow by the name of Scott Rummell.
Oh, hello.
Wait a minute, that
Yeah,
name is
that name.
familiar.
Yeah.
He works
But
a little.
The
now and
reality of it was, yeah, he works because he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And the interesting part of it is that getting the announcer out of your voice is a step-by-step process. It took me the better part of 3 or 4 years, and it may be still ongoing because
Yeah.
every once in a while you fall back into that because the copy calls for something truly stupid.
Yeah.
So you got to sound like an announcer.
Yeah.
But the fun part of it is that when you get going, when you get on the track of understanding how to be real, and you find the right people to help you along
Yeah.
the way, because nobody does this by themselves. Trust me.
Yeah.
The fun part of it is that you learn slowly but surely that you need to have a modicum of respect for your throat, first of all, and a real respect for the copy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the copy should delineate what it is that you're doing.
Okay.
And so you spend most of your life learning how to do that. And if you're lucky enough, it becomes second nature. And you just, when it comes to that time of the day when you're doing auditions, you simply look at the copy. One coach told me, always look at the last line. That's so you know where you're going. It's an amazing piece of advice. You look at the last line, you figure out where the rest of it is, and start rock and roll.
Yeah.
Rock and
I think
roll.
it's important too to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
To be honest with yourself, and then find somebody that you trust to tell you the truth, because so
Yeah.
many people don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yep.
Or maybe they'll go too far and just tell you that was terrible, but they don't have any constructive criticism. So if you can find somebody that you trust to tell you, you're sounding a little too much like an announcer. It's to be able to hear it. When you hear it back, then you can start to understand
Yeah.
what you're doing wrong and to try to do something different with it. So
Exactly.
Well, what were some things about doing radio that you feel were assets to you now in voiceover?
Well,
timing.
yeah.
Being
More
able
than
to hit-
anything else, yeah.
Yeah.
Hit
Timing.
marks.
The interesting part of it was I grew up in a small town where one of the best salesmen in town did a lot of what he called spec ads. He'd take something out on a cassette and play it for the client and say, "This is what I want your radio ad to sound like," and they'd all go, "Oh, gosh, that's exactly what we're looking for." And he taught me how to do it. I got to the point back in the late 60s where I could do a 30-second commercial in 30 seconds from a newspaper or Yellow Pages ad. It was amazing, but it was Leroy Okerlund in Sioux Falls, South Dakota who taught me how to do that, and he could do it every time. You could hold a stopwatch up and just
Wow.
30, and that was Leroy. So that timing, I always used to tell people that what makes a good disc jockey isn't necessarily what makes a good announcer or a good person to do voiceover, because you still got to have that clock in your head. But mine only runs to 30 or 60 seconds.
Very small.
That's right.
I said about you.
Guys like Rick Dees, they control the clock, and they do so well. I learned that either I had to get into VO or I had to go into programming, and I started in programming first and figured, no, this is too much, too many headaches.
This is even lower than the spiral.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, holy cow.
I would say one more thing as we're kind of finishing this question is that improv, taking an improv class was very useful for us.
Yes.
That it took us out of our comfort zone for one thing, and it made us look at what we were doing so differently. That was sort of our introduction to acting. We've done just a little bit of acting. I mean, other than what we do in voice acting, but that was super helpful for us too. So I would recommend any kind of an acting class or
Absolutely.
improv especially.
Well, that is fantastic advice, and I got to say that for all you guys out there that are having a problem with going from announcer to real guy, that it can be done because they've done it. And I knew Bill before he was a normal, down-to-earth guy. So I'm kidding. No, I'm totally kidding.
Look how good you turned out, Bill.
I know, it was amazing. Holy cow.
You owe it all to him.
And I owe it to
Actually,
you.
you do owe a lot to him. We both do.
Because the reality of it is, you don't get anywhere in this town or anywhere else there's a really good-sized voiceover community. You get nowhere unless you've got a demo that works. And especially if you've got a demo that rocks.
Oh,
That's right.
Yeah.
I smell a slogan.
Oh, so do we.
We would suggest it. We won't charge you anything to use it.
Why have a demo that works when you can have a demo that
rocks?
That's even
Love it.
better. You guys are amazing. I have to write these things down.
Look, keep talking. I'll keep his head smushed so he can get out of the room.
But no, seriously, the first time I worked with you and you produced my demo, I was absolutely blown away by the experience. The thing that was so funny is I think I'd been in here for an hour and we'd been working, and I started to get flustered because I still had several pieces of copy to get through. And I remember looking at my watch and saying, "I'm so sorry. I know we only have like 2 minutes left." And you're like, What are you talking about? We're going to stay here till we're done. And I thought, this is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you got some great results.
Amazing
You did some
results.
things that I didn't know I could do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because the whole thing is, and if we're going to hit that subject real quick, we'll just talk about it real quickly, and that's the demo. It's so important.
It is.
You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to make a demo. I've had people spend good money to make a demo that was homemade or made by a friend who has audio gear.
Sure.
It's more than that. They need to know the industry and what has to be on there, and it needs to be directed. I always say this. Your favorite actor, Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, whoever, has never made a movie where he wasn't directed. Why would you make the most important tool of your voiceover career and not be directed by a professional? So important.
Yes.
So,
Definitely.
And that's what
Well,
we
and it's
did,
not
right?
like you guys can't self-direct, but when you're making the demo, you just want to be able to be free and open and not have to be thinking and directing as you're going. You just want to
and second guessing
someone
yourself.
with a great ear. Your ears are insane. They should be insured.
Exactly.
Mental note. We
Yeah.
need to insure them.
Yes.
I mean,
Insure
to be
the
able to
ears,
really
yes.
pull. And I
Yes.
love that you said that because it's true. You do have. I mean, obviously, you can't pull out something that isn't in you.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're very talented. You are too, Bill.
Thank you. Yes, Bill.
Thank you.
But just to be able to have that freedom that you're
Yeah.
not under time constraints. That you can
Now,
just
that doesn't mean you can
play.
stay all day,
No.
within reason.
No,
If you
there's-
stay all day, you may not be ready
Yeah.
for the
And-
demo
and
yet. But
when you came in to do your demo with me, Camille, was that your first demo ever?
That was the
like professional demo? Or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was, because all I had done was just put together little clips of things
Clips
that
of
I
things
had
that you
done.
had
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, I
Yeah.
remember when you walked out of here and me thinking to myself,
Yeah.
and this was a while ago, but
It was
I
like
remember
10 years
thinking-
ago.
Yes, I
Yeah.
remember thinking to myself, wow, man, she's got a freaking, I was going to say another word, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Don't know.
She has a freaking awesome voice.
Doesn't she, though?
And when you hear some clips of some of the things that they've done,
Yes.
Yes.
you'll hear it. Your voice is so rich and so warm and so
Thank
soothing
you.
and just, it's so informative. Like you could be talking about anything and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, I could
You're
do
like,
that
wow,
now
that
too.
paint drying is so interesting.
Right?
Tell me more.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
I discovered
what's your
this.
excuse, Bill?
My excuse is
You must get hypnotized by her when she's telling you a story.
You, you've got
just
you've got to
You're going
understand
to
something.
do the dishes.
Thank
You're
you.
going-
I
I
shall
never have to ask. He's
immediately.
amazing.
Yes. The interesting part of it is I discovered this woman's talent about the same time you did, because the reason we met, she walked into my studio in Santa Ana once upon a time,
A client booked me there for a session.
and they needed an ISDN box, and I was the one in Orange County that had one.
Right.
And first of all,
Right? She's a looker.
Yeah, hello.
She's easy on
Just
the
some-
eyes. That's
yeah.
true, Mr. Rogers.
certainly.
Bill was like, you can have my ISDN.
He's like,
Yeah, take it,
it.
please.
Anytime.
Yeah. The interesting part of it was she was working with a director out of Portland who was really good with her. I thought he was a little overbearing, but that's just my directorial style. But the interesting part of it was he was getting just spectacular results. And I thought, boy, this woman is amazing. And she never fails to amaze me ever since.
Well, and
So
then I ended up doing
sweet.
many sessions for that client at
Yeah.
his studio before I had my
She
own
still does.
studio. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because now we share space.
We share an
but
ISDN
we'll get
box
to
in the
that
studio.
one.
Yeah,
We'll get
okay.
to that part later. But the thing is, he started asking me, so, do you have a demo? Because people ask all the time about other voices, and I really didn't. And that's when he sent me to you. So that was 10 or 12 years
Wow.
ago. We can't
Yeah.
really remember
Yeah.
exactly
It
when
was a
this
bunch
all
of years
started.
ago.
But then we
I'm getting
started
old, I
dating
don't
8
remember
years
these
ago,
things.
and we've
Yes.
been married 3.5 years.
Yes.
So.
Wow.
Sweet.
Congratulations. What a
Little
sweet couple.
newlyweds.
You guys are amazing,
You're
man.
lovely.
Yeah.
Well, and it's wonderful because, I mean, obviously, you guys live together, you work together, you play together. I mean, what do you have any secrets, any pearls of how do you keep your relationship balanced? I mean, because it's
Yeah.
All right.
I think we're not very balanced, and I don't mean that we're mentally imbalanced, because anybody in voiceover is mentally
Of course.
imbalanced.
Hello, we're
but,
all
yeah,
nuts.
it's kind of a prerequisite.
but
Yep.
for us, being unbalanced, I think, kind of
Yeah.
works to our advantage.
It
We
does.
love being together all the time. This is who we would choose to be around.
Yes.
We have the advantage of having somebody else there. A lot of voiceover people work in isolation in their home studios
They
and
do.
feel like the kids are at school, their spouse is at work, and they're just home by themselves sometimes,
Talking to
maybe
themselves,
talking to clients on the phone or over the ISDN line.
That's
We
it.
get to bounce things off of each other. We'll
Exactly.
say, hey, come and listen to this audition. Tell me what you think it needs, or
Yeah.
that
Nothing
kind
like
of thing.
being able to walk across the hall and know that you're going to get a really solid assessment of what it is that you just
Yep.
screwed up.
Yep.
Or not.
that it was
Yeah.
brilliant.
That's it. But the reality of it is that we learned something interesting. The both of us have been down the marital path before. The interesting part of this is that we managed to figure out all of the things that we didn't do right the first time.
Yeah.
And those
Good for you.
became okay, I'm not going to do that again. Not going to do that again.
Yeah.
So, and it's worked. And,
Yeah.
and
That's fantastic.
we're
That's
having,
wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
it
it really
works
is.
great.
Yeah. Well, you guys are a lovely couple.
yeah, you're the
and
result
Thank
of,
you.
you obviously both are wonderful students. You're curious
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
not just your work, but about life. And so that I'm sure
Yeah.
that makes,
Sometimes I should stay away from the Google a little bit more, but not on the other hand, because
I have that addiction.
there is,
too.
yeah, oh boy.
yeah,
It's
back
easy to do.
away
Yeah,
from
it
the
is.
Google
Well,
Bill.
Yes.
And
That's it.
it happens to us too sometimes when we'll be narrating something on a topic that we don't know a whole lot about, and we'll get fascinated. I mean, we're nerdy enough that
Yeah,
a lot of the stuff we
exactly.
do, it's like, this is so cool, I want to learn more, and we'll go
Yeah.
off on a
And
tangent.
there it goes.
learning
Right,
more
Off
stuff.
into left field, yes.
But I would say one of the other advantages that we have is that we both do the same thing. So we're
Yes.
both seriously understanding when something comes up at the last minute. Client calls, they need
Yes.
pickups, they need
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
We're not going to the movie now.
Nope.
We'll do it tomorrow night, or
Rule in
whatever.
our house, rule number one, and there's only one rule. Work comes first.
Yeah.
It sounds so unromantic, but
Well,
to
no.
us it makes perfect
you
sense.
love
We're
what
kind
you
of
do.
honoring, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are what
Yeah.
we do. So
Yeah.
we're kind of honoring who it is that we are, and you know, we love it.
And plus, I mean, when you're doing that, when you're there and you're working together,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
you're already together.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's like
it.
it's almost like it's a work
Hello.
date.
It's a play
It
date.
is.
It is a play
We're
date.
having
It
a play
is.
date.
It's a work
That's
date.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, do you find it difficult to accept criticism from each other?
No.
No,
Okay.
no.
Uh,
Partly because we just worked together for like 4 years before we started dating. So,
yeah.
you know, he directed me in lots of sessions at his studio, and
yeah.
you know,
and
yeah,
I fell in love with the way that she interprets things, because that I learned a whole lot from her just listening to what it was that she had to say and how she said it.
Right.
And so when she hears something in a demo that I've done, or an audition, whatever, it'll be really, really succinct, and she will, she'll tell me exactly, just the way you handled that one little transition there, you might want to do something a little bit more.
And isn't it
Yeah.
all in the delivery? You
And it
if you're
is.
saying
It is.
something,
Yeah. It
when
is.
it's coming from a place of love and
Yeah.
a place of I want you to be your best, it's a whole
Yes.
different thing than
Yep.
if it's
It
I
is.
want to smush you down. So.
exactly.
Totally.
And that's the thing. We know from each other that we're just, it's like, I know you can do that just a little bit better. And
Yep.
so,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
yeah.
It is. It is.
You guys gave me
Yeah.
goosebumps a little bit.
Oh,
We are
gee.
incredibly lucky.
Yes.
Incredibly lucky. So,
There's
That's
no
all I
way
can
to
say.
explain it other than that, because it really is amazing. We get a chance to do what most people only dream about,
Yeah.
and we do enough of it that we get a chance, that we do it all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really something. I mean, there are thousands of people wanting to go to work in their jammies and work at VO.
Yeah, but it didn't come by accident.
No.
I don't
No.
think.
No.
And you did work hard for it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about what you did work-wise and what you still do to keep your clients, because they
You
keep
have
coming back.
clients
Yes,
that you've had for
we
a
have clients.
long
Long
time.
Yes.
Very, very long time.
So that doesn't happen accidentally.
Some
Yeah.
of them I brought with me from Pittsburgh in 1986.
Wow.
And I came out here with the idea in mind that I want to do one thing.
Yeah.
In the old days, radio had a problem as far as I was concerned, and that was the fact that people weren't the salespeople weren't working with the programming and production people to get their product out on the street. And so I set up a deal with a friend of mine. The two of us started doing spec ads on a retainer basis. And it really was a whole lot of fun. And it got to the point where at one time we were the second largest user of FedEx in the entire county of Orange.
Can you tell everybody what spec basis means?
A spec ad is something that the salesperson takes out to
on speculation.
on speculation, yes.
Yeah.
The idea is that if the mark, as it were, if the advertiser,
Your potential client.
yeah, that go. Yes. If the potential client were actually going to buy already,
Yeah.
this would encourage them to buy more, because it's a well thought out, well intentioned idea around something that he already has a problem with or
Yeah, and
would
it's
like
custom
to
made
build.
for them, so they
Yes.
can
Yeah.
sort of
Yes.
they can
You're
visualize
solving
what
their problem
they're.
for
Yep.
them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned a lot about this,
Yeah.
having to do that myself for small radio station in a little town, Wyoming. It was one of those things where, what do you do when the client tells you, I already have enough business. I can't afford to hire anybody else, right? But I can, and I'm selling as many tires as I possibly can now. And I thought about it for a long time. I came back to him and I said, hey, wait a minute. How expensive are the tires that you're selling? What do you mean? They're just regular tires. Well, what if you could sell the premium tires all the time? Would that help your business? Still be the same number of tires, you'd just be charging more for them. Started this guy out. He is still, as far as I know, advertising and using some of the same commercials
Oh
that
my
I
gosh,
created
that's
for him
great.
in the 70s.
Wow.
So this is, the idea of doing an ad that attracts the client to do something else is very cool. And we sent out, we had stations literally from one end of the country to the other, and it was a lot of fun.
They were sending out tapes,
Tapes
which is
in
why
those
they're using
days,
FedEx.
yes. Yes, this was before we were using MCI mail, and Twix.
MCI.
MCI,
Oh my
yes.
goodness, remember
I know.
MCI?
Yes. I mean, it was either AOL or MCI.
Yeah.
We had two choices in those days, you know.
Yeah.
And it was funny because they'd send us the information via MCI. We'd create the ad, put it on a tape, and send it out to them. They'd have it tomorrow. And it was really a whole lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was a great way to start, and it was the way, as far as I was concerned, to get into the world of voiceover. Because I was still doing production, but at the same time, I would have people, who were well versed in what was going on, and they'd say, "Well, do it this way, and it started to work, and I went, "Whoa, this is wonderful."
He got to do lots of characters, in different commercials, and so he got to
multi-track
go
voices.
beyond the announcer.
Yeah, of course.
So you guys obviously you have representation.
Yes.
You have agents.
Yes.
But clearly you're not relying solely
No.
on your agents to generate work. And what I get from you guys from the time I first met you was that you have a really good sense for business. That you're talented, which is great. There's a lot of talented people out there. But
Yes.
you guys are really a wonderful, individually and then collectively, watch out.
Yes.
You have such a good sense of business, how to manage your business, how to generate
We
business,
try,
how to
yeah.
maintain business. What do you think, how did you learn that? Was it trial and error? And what do you think are some of those key elements that maybe someone out there could
I think
get?
first, foremost, and always, you've always got to want to have the customer's best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And if you look at it purely from a retail situation, the people who are actually enjoying working in retail are the ones who are selling the most. With us, it was a matter of trying to help the client. I get people call and they'd say, I really got to have a guy who speaks Portuguese. Because I don't know where I'm going to find it, but what you did for me in English has got to be translated. So I'd go through, I'd find, and I'd say, well, call this guy. Well, that kind of stuff works.
Yeah.
Well, what do I owe you for that? Nothing, because I know that you'll be back. We've also developed two really big, I think they're huge, attitudes for clients. Number one, if you would like us to do your scratch track, we'll do it for free. Because once they've heard the person on the scratch track, and as long as it's not the editor, and I love editors, please don't get me wrong, editors are not voiceover people. And the client hears that scratch track over and over again, and they go, well, use the guy on the scratch track, for goodness sake. And that's gotten both of us a lot of business. The other one is, your demo is our demo. If you want us to voice the demo that you're going to send out to hundreds of people to tell them...
Or if you're just pitching a project,
or
a
just
specific
pitching a project. It doesn't
we'll
make
narrate
any
it
difference.
at no charge.
No charge.
Yeah.
Because it'll also be our demo. So we've done a lot of very proactive things along those lines. We also search out and find a lot of new people who are new to the business and say, hey, look, our idea is simple. We want to grow with you. So give us the small projects that you've got now. We'll make sure that they're affordable for you. And when you start growing up and you start making good, remember where you got started. Dance with who brung ya, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
those
then we
things-
always, and our agents are there to help negotiate the
of course
things
they
that
do.
that are beyond our ability, which happens quite a lot.
It
So,
does.
Yeah.
It
What do you
does.
find
Fortunately,
is
more
the
now.
attitude of your agents when you bring them? Are they appreciative
Yes.
Yes.
of you
Yes.
self-generating and not just
Yes.
putting all the pressure on them?
Right.
Or what's
No,
You know,
they're we have the world's best agents.
Yes,
I mean, we
do.
really
We have
do.
agents all over the country, which is
Yes.
very lovely.
Can you say who some of your
Yes, we can.
yes, we can.
Here in Los Angeles, we're with Vox.
Nice.
So
We love Vox.
They
Wes
are
and
wonderful.
Jeff
Wes
and
and Jeff.
Tom and
are
everybody
just-
there,
they're
they are
amazing.
just
Yes.
fantastic.
Tom Lawless
Yeah.
has the coolest name in voiceover period.
Yes.
I know,
Tom,
right?
You're the man.
Tom Lawless.
Definitely.
That's it. Definitely.
Yeah, well, and something just came up. A client that Bill's done lots of work for in the past called and said,
said-
we want to book you. Now, I think you're with Vox, but I'm not sure. What do we do? And Bill handed it off to Vox,
Jeff
and they
and
Jeff
boom.
Because I
This
think
is
what's
done.
important to reiterate
Yes.
is that you're not going around your agents.
No.
You're not
Right.
compromising these
No.
relationships
You're
to
working
build your
together
business.
as a team.
You're bringing everyone's on the same team.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And
Without
they
doubt.
take
Yeah.
excellent care of us. I mean,
Yes,
they give
they
us
do.
so many great opportunities to audition for things we would never, ever have access to.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's pretty amazing.
We also
Absolutely.
share an agent in Salt Lake City, and the people in Salt Lake City are incredibly kind as well. We love them. They're a talent management group. And
Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Vicky.
No, they're all wonderful there.
They
and then
are.
I'm with In Both Ears in Portland, and he's with Donna Baldwin in Denver.
So
You guys
yeah.
are ripped, man. That's
Sweet.
really,
Yeah.
really
We got-
cool.
we got
Wow.
rep.
Well, and I also wanted to say to not underestimate the power of going to other markets to look for representation.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
tons of work in other markets. It's not just Los Angeles or New York. And we work a lot in Denver and Portland and Salt Lake City.
Yep.
And it's amazing how little overlap there is in the work that these agencies get. Once in a while, few times
Yeah.
a year, we'll get the same audition from two different agents.
Yeah.
We generally go with who sent it to us first, but then we let the other one know, hey, I'm reading for this other agency. If I book it, we'll do the commission for both.
Right,
You know,
right,
because
right,
it's
right.
it's
That's
you,
the
it's
way it
worth
works.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, but
that's
that's
the way
true.
it
I
works.
have the same situation where you're like, oh, I would thought I would have gotten that, but it's great. You know, you
Yeah.
diversify, you cast a wider net. If it is in
fantastic.
theory a numbers game,
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
the more times you audition, the more.
Oh, and Stacey,
chances
that
you
is
get.
so true. This really is a numbers game. If for those people who want to get into this who already have a real estate background, they get it. I mean, you know,
Yes.
Yeah.
you make 10 calls, you get one answer, and that's the way this works.
Yeah.
You got to knock on doors.
Yeah.
The knuckles over the years have been
Well, I was
worn
going
down
to
to a
ask you what
nub.
those
Yeah.
scabs were. Now I
that's
know.
it.
Don't get your knuckles
That's right.
Well, that is all we have for part one, but we will be back next week with part two for sure. Don't miss it.
Aren't Bill and Camille amazing?
Beyond.
Hey, you guys, keep up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at VO Buzz Weekly. We'll see you next time, and just remember, you always have time for a little buzz.